Hi ladies and gents, welcome back to Miss Raga's Art Room. Okay, so the last thing we need to do now is apply some working knowledge of our color theory to how to actually work with the paint and create gradients. Gradients are just value ranges. That's all they are, okay? And we're gonna do three different types of gradient. A single gradient, meaning just one color, a two-color gradient, and a layered color gradient. And we have to have our knowledge of color theory with this as we do this worksheet. So it might be helpful if you've got your color wheel to have that out with you also. So first thing I'm gonna do is wet down my column. I find that pre-wetting the paper and working wet on wet for creating gradients gives you kind of the smoothest, most fluid color transitions. Oh, I do, right there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go. Ooh, recycling day today, ladies and gents. There we go. So just pre-wetting down the paper.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Great weekend.
You too. All right, and what I'm going to do is select. I love blues and greens, so I'm going to work with blue-green for my single color. So go ahead and get some blue-green from your palette. Okay, and you're going to take that rich saturated blue-green and go ahead and paint it in, good craftsmanship, right to the edge of the column of the box. We're going to paint that blue-green in about a third of the way down. Stop a little bit before half. Okay, now what we're going to do is just take clean water and we're going to work back into the wet edge of that paint, and we're now going to start fading it down and fading it out. Okay, and re-rinse again, more water. Keep working the wet edge of that paint, and we're gonna fade out that gradient. Beautiful. And there we have probably the simplest version of creating value, or a value range, I should say. Right? So I start with my most concentrated color, working dark to fading it out to light. But there's another way we can do this, a two-color gradient. Okay? A two-color gradient is where we just have two colors that meet, and we start with one that's a darker value that goes to one that's a lighter value. Now this is where it's helpful to know your color theory. Remember, complements don't work well for this unless you're okay with having a neutral color happen in the middle. Okay, so things like your analogous colors work well. Even if you went from like one primary to another and mixed to get a secondary in the middle, that would work well. Okay, but just be aware that if you do choose to do this with a complement, right, you go let's say blue to orange as your light, know that you're going to get that neutral in the middle. Okay, so once again, let's wet down our box and let's pick a darker value color and a lighter value color. I'm actually going to do an analogous. I'm going to choose green and yellow green. So I can see that my green is actually the darker value color, so I'm going to start with that. Okay, and I'm going to mix up some green. I'm going to put the green right at the top. This is my darker value color, and I'm going to bring that green about halfway down. Now here, to get that value range, we're relying just on the differences in the value of the color themselves. So make sure you're choosing truly like a dark value color and a light value color. Bringing it about down halfway. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush really well. I'm going to pick up some of that yellow green. I'm going to make that yellow green even a little bit more yellow greenier. I'm going to add more yellow to it. So I'm going to mix, mix, mix. There you can see my color palette. Mixing off screen because I don't quite have enough visual space just in my camera to make it work. Okay, and so now I'm going to have my yellow green at the end, which is my lighter value color, and I'm going to have that work its way up towards my green, and then I'm going to have the colors meet and mix and blend in the middle on that wet edge. Notice how each time I'm wetting down my paper first, that helps with the blending and also helps you control and keep the paint within the shape you're doing. Okay, so there is my two-color gradient. All right, finally, for my last one, we're going to do the layered color gradient. One more time, wet down that whole column of paper. Be clean and careful with your water as well. You want to get right up to the edge of your shape. Craftsmanship counts always. Okay. Now with a layered color gradient, okay, we're actually going to be layering colors over top of each other. Now this is a great one where if you want to take like a primary or two primaries and mix a secondary in the middle, that would work really well, or your analogous. Again, if you choose complements, be aware that when you do that layering, you're going to get a neutral color, okay, not the bright colors that you started with. Okay, that's where that knowing that color theory comes into play. So let's do something with greens again. Yay. Okay, I'm going to work with turquoise in my yellow. Okay, yellow is obviously my lighter value, turquoise is my darker. And what I'm going to do is first create a single gradient, starting with my yellow most concentrated at the end. And just like I did with the first one, I'm going to paint it about a third of the way down. And then I'm going to take water and fade it out. Now comes the layering part. Okay, I'm going to grab my turquoise now, and in reverse, I'm going to paint on my dark end my heavy turquoise over the top. Oh, I love that bloom. That never gets old. Looks so cool. Okay, and then I'm going to paint my turquoise about halfway down as well. And you'll notice I immediately start to get that mix happening. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush. And with just a clean, damp brush, I'm going to kind of start working and layering that turquoise and yellow back and forth. And you'll see what happens in the middle is that mix to green. Okay? So now I have that blue to green to yellow as my layered gradient. So all different ways to create gradients using the watercolor. And remember, having that value range, that dark to light in each shape, is a required element on your mandala. How you achieve that, though, you've got a lot of control as to the way you want your color to look. All right, thanks for watching, ladies and gents. See you again soon in Miss Raga's Art Room.